Hello everyone, it's Tracy. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks very much for joining me. Today I'm doing the assembly tutorial for the Trio Shadowbox. This project has been designed by Nicole Silhouette here on YouTube, and I shall link her YouTube channel in the description box below. You can make this project with either a cutting die set or a digital cutting file. The cutting die set is available from Andy's store, also known as RLJLives, and the digital cutting file you can get from Nicole's Etsy store, and I shall link that in the description box below. So we'll get started with showing the die pieces and the pieces cut out. This first die here is the back of the shadow box, and you just need to cut one of those. And you can see I've gone ahead and folded along the score lines and put the score tape on the tabs. The next piece here is the front of the shadow box. You can have it in portrait style or landscape. This is my piece cut out here. You just need to cut it once. And what you do need to do with this particular piece, this part here is still joined, but only by a little bit, by about 1 millimetre. You just need to do a little snip in each of those corners. It's just the way the die was made. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that little snip in each of those corners of each of those window sections. It's just releasing it so that it can be folded down. And you can see that I've gone ahead and put double-sided tape on the glue tabs. So now that my corners are now free, I'm going to fold down those sections along the score lines. So I'm just folding down each of those glue tabs on each of those windows. And then what I'm going to do once I've got all those folded down, I'm going to turn the piece over and get my bone folder, and I'm going to really reinforce those glue tabs. And what this will do, this will make sure that our little shadow boxes will fit into those sections, and it will look nice and neat from the front side. So I've got all the burnishing done, and that's what the front of the shadow box looks like. Next we have this end piece here, and you need to cut 2 of those, and you can see I've gone ahead and put the double-sided tape on the glue tabs. And these 2 dies here, you just need to cut 1 each from those, and you'll get these 2 pieces, and they don't have any glue tabs on them. This is a decorative layer, so I'll put that aside for later. And this piece here is the piece that makes the little shadow boxes. So you need to cut that 3 times. And I've gone ahead and folded along the score lines and put the double-sided adhesive on the glue tabs. And when we join these together, these glue tabs are going to be affixed on the outside edge. I'll talk a bit more about that later. So moving on, we're going to make these shadow boxes first. And I'm going to remove the backings from the adhesive. And I'm going to show you how to affix the corners. So you want that tab fixing on the outside of the box, like so. You don't want it on the inside. You don't want to be able to see the glue tabs. You want the inside of those boxes to be nice and neat. So I'm just doing the same thing on the next corner. Just folding along the score lines, making sure the fold's nice and neat, and affixing that tab on the outside edge. And the same on the last 2 corners. You could use glue for this project if you like. I'm just using double-sided tape because it's more convenient for the tutorial. So again, affixing those tabs on the outside edge. So there we have one of the little shadow boxes to go, and you'll make your other 2 exactly the same way. So I went ahead and I have my 3 boxes made, and now I've got the front of the shadow box frame, and it's time to put these little shadow boxes into those frame openings. So to do that, I'm going to turn the frame over, so I'm now looking at the back of that frame. I'm going to take the release papers off the adhesive, and in hindsight it probably would have been better to do this 1 tab at a time, because having all the adhesive exposed like that Just makes it that little bit harder to put these in because the adhesive wants to stick when you don't want it to. And I think by the time I get to the third shadow box, I did learn from that mistake. But in my haste to get it put together, I didn't really think about it properly. So once you take your backings off and you've got your little shadow box in that window space, you can just press those tabs against the sides of the shadow box so that they're in place nicely. When you turn it over and look at it from the front, you can then make sure that the adhesive has a good stick and ensuring that that's all nicely stuck all the way around, like so. And all the tabs are on the inside and they can't be seen. So I'm going to put the second shadow box in place, just taking the backings off. Again, this would be better to do this one tab at a time. Just put the shadow box in. Having it flush against the work surface helps it sit nicely and straight from the front. I'm just pressing my tabs into place. And then I'll turn it over from the front, making sure that things are lined up nicely and that the adhesive has a good stick. And that's looking good. Just making sure that those corners are stuck properly. And it's time to put the last third shadow box in, and this is where I just take one adhesive backing off and I'm going to work one tab at a time. Just get that one tab in. Making sure it's looking good from the front, and then I'll do the other side. You can, of course, do it whichever way is easier for you. Then I'm going to work on the longer sides. Just take the backings off, press that tab into place, and then go through from the front, pressing it down as well. A little bit trickier down this side, like a little bit less room to work with, but that's okay, you can still get in there. And press that into place, making sure that the adhesive gets a good stick. And I'm happy with how that's coming along. The pieces are fitting together really, really well. And that's a credit to Nicole and the way she designs the cutting dies and the cutting files. So that's the front of our shadow box, nearly finished. Just giving you a look all the way around. And so I'm going to put my long side pieces on now, these little strips here. You can do this in any order that you like. You can attach those to the back piece if you like and then join it. It's up to you. I'm just doing it this way, attaching it to the front to begin with. It wouldn't make any difference. The process would still be the same. So I'm just removing the adhesive along that glue tab, and I'm just going to carefully align this along that side edge, taking care to make sure it's straight and even. And you can see it's lining up perfectly with those end pieces. Just pressing it into place. And I'll give it a bit of a burnish as well to make sure that adhesive gets a good stick. Turn it over, and then I'll do the same thing for the other side. It doesn't matter whether you do this on the front piece or the back piece, as I said previously. That's entirely up to you. Next up, I'll stick these shorter end pieces on. Just removing the backings off the glue tab, off the front of the shadow box. Line this up carefully, making sure that it's lined up precisely and it's nice and straight. Then I'm going to join the short piece to the long piece to make a corner. This is a very easy project to put together. Do the same on the other side. And then I'll attach the other end. Just remove the backings. Get my piece, line it up as straight as I can. And then close up the corners. Like so. And this is the front of our shadow box done. So that's the inside, and then that's your outside. Now all that's left to do is to stick the back on. So here's the back piece with the adhesive on the glue tabs, and I'm just going to take the adhesive off the longest side, line it up against the edge of the front of the shadow box, taking care to make sure things are lined up properly before pressing it down into place. And I have it resting against my work surface. So I'm just going to press that into place with my finger, make sure it's getting a good stick. Then I'm going to work on one of the shorter sides. Take the backings off. Tuck that tab into that shorter end, press it into place. And doing it this way just made it line up a lot easier. And then once your short ends are sealed up, you can then seal this last long edge. Just take the backings off. And I think this worked better when I stood it up on its end. Whilst I tuck that glue tab down inside, and of course the adhesive wants to stick before I want it to. So there we go, I've stood it up on that side and it's a little bit easier to work with. So just tucking that glue tab in. And pressing it down into place, making sure the glue gets a good stick. And using my pokey tool just to assist if it goes a little bit crooked. So I'm just making sure that all the glue's sticking nicely and that it's looking nice from the front. And we're going to turn it over, have a look at the back, make sure that's looking nice. And I'm just checking at the back to make sure it's all nice and neat and there's nothing overhanging anywhere or poking out. And I'm happy with how it's looking from the front as well. All the edges are nice and straight and neat. Now this is all ready for decorating, which I went ahead off camera and decorated this one in a portrait style. The papers that I used for my shadow box are from Kaiser Craft's Full Bloom collection, and this particular paper piece is called Rosebud. The decorative layer on the front of the shadow box I made using the front die piece, and I trimmed it down by 1/8 of an inch. If you buy the digital cutting file, all of the decorative layers are included in the cutting file. And you can see there that I didn't put any decorative layers on the back, nor the sides or the top and the bottom. I could have if I wanted to, but I just chose not to. I think it looks nice just the way it is. Prior to making this one for the tutorial, I did actually make one in the landscape orientation, and I have that here to show you now. This one I've made as a decor piece for my craft room, and you can see I have the ribbon there to hang it. And this one I've done in a crafty theme. The stamps and dies that I used to create the crafty theme for this shadow box are from Concord and 9th. It is their crafty turnabout stamp and die set. And I love the way that this turned out. These shadow boxes could really be made in any theme that you liked. For the ribbon on the back of the landscape orientation one, I did just affix the ribbon onto the back. And then I put a piece of cardstock over that, so that it gave the back of the shadow box some extra strength, and it also hid where I had attached the ribbon. So I'm just going to turn that over to show you that now. So you can see that you can't see where I've attached it, and so it won't come off. And gives the back of it a bit more strength too, because it's going to be hanging. So that's my tutorial finished for today. I hope you've enjoyed watching and that you feel inspired to make one of these shadow boxes. Don't forget to check the description box down below for the links that I have previously mentioned. And then if you'd like to subscribe to my YouTube channel, I would really love that too. Thanks very much for watching today. Have a great day, and until next time, it's bye for now.